What is
offer sheeting?
Anyway, what's that mean?
Looks like you guys are getting a brand new video format because the site that I used to use for downloading hockey clips on YouTube got shut down by the US government for, I don't know, violating copyright reasons or something like that. Or something. Is that even something I could say on a video? I mean, in Minecraft. Does that even work? I don't even fucking know. YouTube, please don't delete my channel. You will be beating a literally dead horse. There's no point. So the Blues season is a month and a half away, and Doug Armstrong decided just kind of out of nowhere because Stan Bowman exists to raise hell. So the story begins on August 13th at 8:31 a.m. local time. From Earth. From the Penguins Twitter account, of all places, reads the Penguins have acquired a 2026 second round draft pick and a 2025 third round draft pick. And you look at the trade and you go, fucking what? Like, I know it's been a long offseason, but are you that bored? Jesus. You see him swapping second round picks and you're like, okay. And then you see him swap a third for a fifth and you're like, why? And I didn't even know this trade happened until after all the offer sheet stuff came out, because if I had, I would have been like, what the hello? And I don't think any of the 5 Blues fans that saw this trade happen realized that the pick that they got back from the Penguins was actually the Blues' original pick that they traded to the Penguins like less than a month ago to dump off Kevin Hayes' contract. But even still, I don't think any of those Blues fans were like making any connections. I don't think they were sitting there like, huh, I wonder what the Blues need with their own draft pick, unless they were planning to offer. Oh my God, they're fucking over Stan Bowman. My favorite Blues writer, Jeremy Rutherford, was the first on it, breaking the Blues announced that they have tendered offer sheets to defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway. Minute later, our boy Frank chiming in, Blues have tendered offer sheets to Oilers Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Edmonton has 7 days. 7 days. To match the offer. And with that, the St. Louis Blues became the second most popular team in Vancouver. So, what the fuck's an offer sheet? Well, allow me to completely oversimplify it and skip to this timestamp if you don't give a shit. So let's say we have a hockey player. His name is Reginald. Say hi to Reginald. Thank you. If Reginald doesn't have a contract to play in the NHL, he's considered a free agent. That's it. Simple as that. That also means that technically, yeah, you and I are free agents as well, which sounds a lot cooler than being a college dropout. Now, there are 2 different kinds of free agents. If you're under 25 and have already played through your ELC plus any other contract that would expire before you're 26, you are considered a restricted free agent. You see, when you get drafted into the NHL, your team technically owns your rights for the next 7 years of NHL service, even if you haven't signed an extension. Now, there are a few exceptions depending on what leagues you play in after you're drafted and how long you play in those leagues. They'll either move up or push back that figure, but in general, 25 to 26 years old is the mark. Now, if you have played 7 years worth of service for an NHL team and your contract has expired at the end of those, you become what is known as an unrestricted free agent. If you're a UFA, any team can send you contract offers and you're free to accept them or reject them as you please. If you accept a contract offer as a UFA, then the team that signed you doesn't owe the team that you last played for any compensation. But it didn't always used to be that way. You see, in the early days before the modern collective bargaining agreement, teams used to receive compensation from either the NHL or other teams if players decided to sign elsewhere. Ever. Even if they didn't have a contract offer to begin with. This is why if you look at previous drafts, you'll notice some rounds will have a lot more picks in them than normal. As an example, the 2000 NHL draft had 35 picks in the second round, when there were only 30 teams in the league. So let's say Reginald is my age, 24. And he's an RFA playing for, let's say, the Saskatoon Blues, the team that drafted him. That means as an RFA, poor Reginald is shit out of luck and can't take the contract from the other team, even though it's worth more money, right? Wrong. You see, RFAs can be offered contracts from other teams if they meet certain criteria, and the player is allowed to sign those contracts. These are known as offer sheets. But the catch is that the team that holds his rights, in this case the Saskatoon Blues, is allowed to match the contract dollar for dollar in order to keep the player. The deadline to match the contract is 7 days from the time it's signed. However, the Blues are also allowed to decline to match the sheet for any reason, whether it's because they can't afford it or if they just don't like Reginald. You monsters. If the Blues decide not to match it, then they will receive draft pick compensation from the other team. Depending on what the average annual value of the contract is, this compensation will vary, from absolutely nothing to what I traded for Philip Zadina in my NHL 17 franchise mode game, because who needs first round talent anyway? Since the other team offered $4 million, the compensation to the Blues is a second round pick, so the Blues will receive the Sharks' second round pick from the next draft. Oh, Reginald, don't cry. I'm sure it's not that bad in San Jose.
Again, Beauvillier scores. And now we're into double digits as Anthony Beauvillier has his second.
Now, GMs don't really do this very often. And in hockey, there's a rumor that it's sort of an unwritten rule amongst GMs to not do this. But Army answers to nobody. Let's go back to the chart. So the Blues are going to have to send some compensation to Edmonton. So depending on how much money the Blues offered Holloway and Broberg, that will determine exactly what that compensation is. Now, theoretically, if you're going to sign someone to an offer sheet, you're going to want to sign them to a dollar value at the higher end of these categories. That way, you're getting a little more bang for your buck. Now, because these categories are set in stone, a dollar is the difference between a first-round pick as compensation and a second-round pick as compensation, which is a huge difference, especially on the trade market. So how much are the offer sheets given to these two players worth? What did Doug sign them to? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, by the way, while all of this was being discussed, Twitter was going back and forth. Oh, the Oilers are keeping both players. Oh, the Oilers are only going to keep one player. Oh, the Blues just got two players who most recently played in the Stanley Cup final for a second and third round pick. So the first real sign of things to come for the Edmonton Oilers was when they made a trade in the middle of all this with the Vancouver Canucks for forward Vasily Podkolzin. How the fuck do you even say that name? Vasily Podkolzin. There, nailed it. And everyone, I think, correctly assumed, okay, there's Dylan Holloway's replacement. We don't got to worry about it. He's only worth $1 million. Let's ignore the fact that Dylan Holloway's qualifying offer was $1.1 million, but whatever. Now, Philip Broberg, though, that was the piece that Edmonton needed to keep. And it looked like for a bit, that's exactly what they would do. Supposedly, Evander Kane was going to start the season on LTIR. That's $7 million in cap relief. Supposedly, you can sign Philip Broberg to his matched offer sheet, plus get another player. Not only that, but in the middle of all this, Edmonton decided to trade Cody Ceci in his albatross of a contract, and Oilers fans were like, great. Can we please sign Philip Broberg now? And then we get this tweet from Jason Gregor. Oh my God. Are they surely gonna... There's no way. There's no way the Blues just got both of them. There's no fucking way they just... Are you kidding me right now? The Blues, just like that, have acquired a young top 4 D-man that Blues fans have been screaming at Doug to acquire for the last 5 years, and a 22-year-old forward who scored a highlight reel goal in last year's Stanley Cup final. So the final trade reads as follows. The Blues received Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg in exchange for a second-round pick, 2 third-round picks, moving about 60 spots down in the middle of a draft because of the Pittsburgh trade, and Paul Fisher. And I'm pretty sure 90% of you don't even know who that is. Now, it is important to understand that as things stand right now, those offer sheets, huge overpay. Those players have no business making the money that they're making. You think the Blues care? The Blues don't care. They've got a stupid amount of cap space right now, especially with Krug going on the LTIR. And if the Oilers are trying to win now, you know, before Leon Draisaitl gets $15 million in 2 years, then this is a crucial move for them. They need every dollar in cap space that they can get. Their combined cap hit of around $6.5 million is just too much for a team that needs people who are established in their positions. But if you're the Blues, you don't care about established positions. You want them to develop along with the hundreds of first-round talents that you have coming up through the system. You want them to fight for their spots. The Blues aren't anywhere close to competing right now, but they're getting there very, very soon. And as such, there are plenty of spots in the lineup for these guys to grow. They're going to get way more ice time in St. Louis than they ever would in Edmonton. Their NHL stats show a lot of promise, and I think this was totally worth taking a chance on. You know, sure, the Blues are a downgrade of sorts to the Edmonton Oilers right now, but the Blues' future is a lot brighter than Edmonton's future, I think. I mean, think about it. This is a massive blow to Edmonton's prospect pool. Name a young guy that they have that isn't Evan Bouchard. You can't. But it's also very important to keep expectations limited. Remember, these guys are younger than I am. They have a lot of upside and a lot of potential, no doubt. But you're not going to see that immediately. That's just how it is. Dylan Holloway, who has an NHL hat trick, by the way, just for the record, brings a lot of speed and tenacity to this Blues lineup that, I mean, it really doesn't have. He's played a center and a left wing role with the Oilers. He cements himself as sort of a two-way / shutdown centerman who does really, really well of disrupting plays on the penalty kill, but he's also got a lot of upside on the power play. If you want a fantastic future line mate for Jake Neighbors, you just found him. I love the speed that he potentially brings to this lineup, but also he's got some untapped offensive potential that he could unlock at any moment. We saw flashes of it in the Stanley Cup final. He had a 2-goal game in the Stanley Cup final. And oh my gosh, all the ice time that he's going to be able to get with the Blues that he didn't get in Edmonton is going to do wonders for his development, I think. You obviously don't know these things for sure, but I mean, the correlation's always there. Now, Holloway's spot in the lineup is a little hard to gauge. Most people have him on the third line. He's with Radek Fox and Alexei Toropchenko to start the year. I mean, everybody's got a different opinion on that. How Philip Broberg fits into the lineup is a little bit more clear. Now, JR has him starting on the second pair to begin the season with Justin Falk, but I have a feeling that later on in the season, that's going to change. A Broberg-Parayko pairing would be so good. It would hit like crack. You guys wanted a J Bowmeister? Well, you got a J Bowmeister. And I don't take comparisons like that lightly. This guy was selected 8th overall in his draft from purely athleticism. This guy automatically is in the top 5 best skaters on the Blues. He's strong. He's not afraid to go into the corners. He's quick. And especially with all the playoff experience he just came out of, that's going to be huge for developing his hockey sense in his game. With an addition like him on the blue line, the Blues defense just got better today, and it got way better in the future. And in 2 years, when these contracts expire, this team's going to be in a completely different spot, and we're going to be ready to compete for a cup. And not only that, but I hear he's really excited to be a Blue.
Very excited to be a Blue, and very excited that I'm a Blue, and I'm very excited to be a Blue, and I'm very looking forward to meeting everybody. Could you take that question again? Sorry. When it came out that I will be a St. Louis Blues, I was very excited, looking forward for the opportunity in St. Louis, and I'm very excited to come to camp, and I'm very excited to be a Blue.
English is hard. Give him a break. While you may not know exactly how these guys are going to progress in their NHL careers, there's no denying they are huge pieces to the Blues' young core going forward. It's really difficult to pinpoint potentials and where players will fit in, and honestly, general analysis on new players when they're so young and all they have is potential. Young players have their ups and downs. They're going to make costly mistakes, but they're also going to wow us at times this season, You just got to stick with the process and don't put too much weight into it. After all, this team isn't ready to compete yet. They will be soon, but not quite yet. There's time to make mistakes. And if Holloway's in a top 6 role and Broberg's in a top 4 role in 2 years, that's a win. I'm just really glad that Doug has stuck to the process, hasn't deviated from it one bit, is willing to make this team better. He's of course willing to set this team up for success, but bro, why is your mom catching strays? Like, I don't get it. Brilliant move by Doug. Hopefully Steiner's taking notes. That's gonna do it for this one. Hope you like the new style. I don't know, I guess we'll see when I'm editing it if I like it or not, but let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.